everyone, and welcome down to episode number 71 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia. And the guy in your other ear, if you're listening, or on the other screen if you're watching, it's Cam Blake in Hobart, Tasmania. Hello, Cameron.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Brendan. How are you on this fabulous, what are we, Thursday?
It's autumn.
It is.
We probably should make note of that. It's the calendar has ticked over.
It's the best season of the year, I reckon.
It is, not just because your daughter's named that.
No, it's a reason why she's named that, because I think it's the most prettiest time of year.
It is.
And it's a really nice time of year to take photos. So
it's peak photography time, isn't it?
Yeah. It's really hard to squeeze in all the locations you want to go.
Yeah. Yes.
And put them into one season, because I wish autumn would go for like 6 months, like just double as long with the color.
Yes.
That would be cool. I can handle that.
That would be cool. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed, liked. Another milestone ticked over. We passed 400 subs on YouTube, which was very exciting. In fact, like I said to you, Cam, we gave it windburn on the way by. We're now well past the 400 mark. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed, shared us around. Apparently, if you hit the like thing below this video as well, that helps us for some reason. So do that too, please. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be good. Yes. We flew past 400, didn't we?
We did.
It was like, I wonder if we're going to get to 400. And then it's like, oh, we're 409.
That's right. But enough about us. Let's talk some photography.
Let's stop crapping on about us.
Auroras are back.
They're
back in vogue. It's been quite the spell. I think 3 pretty good showings over the last fortnight, I would have thought.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is sort of spoiled for choice, really. I mean, generally speaking, you don't get a good run like that, I would have thought. I mean, I from my basic knowledge, and Cam, you've shot more auroras than I ever will, but my basic knowledge is they don't generally come in such heavy clumps like that. Would that be right?
Well, we are getting into it. It actually has like phases, from what I understand, and I'm by no means, and I don't want to get people upset here in Tasmania by me trying to explain something I'm not an expert in. So, there is phases. So the sun turns and we turn and all that kind of stuff, and there is phases. I think it's like every 12 years or every 7 to 12 years that we get a peak in activity and then it drops again. So
yeah, but there's definitely no correlation with the time of year, though, is there?
No. It can happen all the time. So I've got some of the best shots I've got of the Aurora. I had one about 3 days after Christmas once, and then I had another one dead middle of winter, and then we had one just the other day here. So time of year, I don't think makes a huge difference. Some people say winter is good because you get longer night times, so you get longer dark hours to see it. Whereas in summer, by the time the sun goes down here, it's almost ready to come back up again. It goes down at by 10 o'clock, it's dark, and then by 4:30, it's light again. But we are coming into a peak period, from what I understand. So I think the next sort of 1 to 3 years, we're going to see a lot more activity. And if the one we shot the other night, which is the one in my background here, if that's anything to go by, we are in for a lot of long nights.
This is good. I want you to explain your background to the viewers. Sorry, listeners, but Cam's going to try and do the old 1,000 words if you can't see the picture.
Yeah, right. So this is a shot the other night. This was around about 10:30. For people that know Tassie, this is on the road out to Queenstown. So this is going from Hobart out to Queenstown on the west coast. The little peak that you can see right down the sort of bottom right is Frenchman's Cap, which is a very famous walk down here. But we stopped on the side of the road here and it was going off. We had this big beam on the right-hand side. Apparently it's called Steve, which is, I'll look up the name of it once I can get my hands on a keyboard. But Steve is some emission that sort of flares off the side of the Aurora. And that was in the sky. It looked like headlights. It looked like a high beam, which is pretty incredible. And then the left-hand side of the shot is more of the Aurora and the beams that you see with the color. So it was an amazing shot. It was just incredible. It was just really, really prominent Aurora. And it went until around about sort of 12 o'clock. The cloud came sort of northeast over Tassie and just sort of swallowed up everything to the very last corner, which is where we were in the west coast of Tassie. So we looked at the cloud and we decided to head west.
That cloud that you could see, unfortunately, extended all the way to the Victorian coastline, because we, for that night that you're showing us there, we were completely clouded out. Here where I am, there was Now, this really sort of piqued my interest. I've seen photos of that Aurora now from as far north as Wangaratta, which is getting up there.
It sure is.
Bendigo, Horsham, So around the Grampians, I've seen a couple of photos with the Grampians in the foreground with an Aurora, which is pretty cool. So that to me says that's probably one of, if not the most intense Aurora we've had for quite some time.
Yeah, I would say out of all the Auroras I've seen, that'd be in the top 2 or 3, I reckon.
Yeah.
The shot I got of the tessellated pavement,
Yes.
it didn't have this thing, the little Steve thing, which is actually called a strong thermal emission velocity enhancement.
Of course it is.
ST emission, STEVE.
Yeah.
The one
I mean,
that
it just looks like lens flare, and I'd probably replace that sky there.
Yeah, well, that's this is all AI anyway. So it's all made up.
That's right, exactly.
So yeah, it was pretty big, and the one I saw a few years ago, tessellated pavement, it was more beams, but this one, I don't know. We might be able to even attach a little video at the end of this if you're up to it, Brent. So I did a video on my phone. This is how bright it was. I did a video on my phone just before we left for the night, and you could see it was just pulsing. The whole sky was just pulsing. And it would have been fairly high up there. So if we got the technology, we'll put the
definitely
video
seen some really impressive time lapse that people have shot of the Aurora the other night. So
yeah.
So what do you think? Why are we all so excited, Cam? Why do you reckon people get so excited about Aurora, and in particularly photographing it? It's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, I suppose it is a phenomenon.
Well, it is totally, yeah. I don't know. Like, I think it's a bit of a tricky one to explain why people like it. I think there's a multitude of reasons why people enjoy it. One, if you're not a photographer at all, if you just walked out, like the other night, if you walked out your backyard in Hobart, you would have seen the lights flickering over the house, and you would have seen all the beams happening and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. That, like, just in itself, that space activity is pretty cool. It's the same as if we see shooting stars or eclipse and things like that. People love looking up and seeing what's going on. So I think there's a bit of romance there. But for photographers, it's just, we can't get to the Northern Hemisphere without paying a lot of money. So this is the next best thing. It's not as high in the sky, but not as dramatic maybe, but it's still spectacular to see. So I think the fact that we get it down here in Hobart and Southern Victoria, I think it makes a beautiful photograph if you can find some really interesting foregrounds and reflections maybe in lakes and stuff like that. So I think people get addicted to it. And no two Auroras are ever the same. Sometimes they're stronger, sometimes they're weaker, sometimes you get these crazy beams, sometimes you don't, sometimes you get picket fences that they call, or sometimes you just get like ribbons of stuff. So they're always a bit different. So I chased Auroras for about 3 or 4 years down here, and I was up a lot and going to work the next day really tired. And I think people get addicted to it. It's just a lovely thing to watch.
I can see the absolute addiction to it. I mean, it's sort of like a photographer's dream to be able to capture an Aurora shot, particularly if you can do it close to home. I mean, as you say, that's a massive advantage where, and that's where Tassie is just, when you look at land masses that are as far south as Tassie, it's Tasmania, it's the southern tip of South Africa, and it's the southern tip of South America. So it's which is pretty amazing. There's only really 3 locations, and the next stop is Antarctica. Where you're land based and able to get shots like that.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I saw some photos from the other night from the Casey station down at the Antarctic, and it didn't look anywhere near as good as what we had in Tasmania, because the actual Aurora was pushed up higher.
It was further north.
It was further north of the pole, so it wasn't actually over the pole as it would be as prominently normally. It was actually lower on their horizon than it was for us. So that was really interesting to see. But yeah, they're amazing things to see. And like you said, being in Tassie is really handy. I heard reports that they saw it as far north as Dubbo in New South Wales.
That's way north.
That's way north. And Forbes, is it Forbes?
Yep.
And things like that. So different strengths create different excitement as well. So I think
I guess when you look at it, it's that alignment of conditions, right? So first of all, you've got to actually have the and we're not going to get technical about it, but magnetic activity to produce the Aurora.
Go on, get technical. I want to hear you talk technical.
No, because I've got no idea what I'm talking about. But then also you've got to have the clear skies. Good conditions to be able to go out and shoot. So and be willing at some cases to shoot until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, some people like on a clear night, and this is what I was doing a few years ago, you can stay out all night doing them. Because, not only does it change in the sky, but, you can go to different locations. So you can say, right, a lot of people went up Mount Wellington the other night, even though it was cloudy in Hobart, and they were above the cloud. So you had all this cloud below them and this aurora. It looked fantastic. And then we went out west and we had clear skies and mountains. Some people go down to the coast and have like the beaches and water and stuff like that. So
that's where we're pretty lucky here, because we've got pretty good access to lookouts and things that are on the coast. And you can sort of isolate yourself away from the dreaded light pollution that you're trying to hide away from when you're shooting auroras as well. So there's a place, Point Addis, which is not too far from me, just near Torquay there. And of course, you can head all the way down to Cape Otway as well. Which is an awesome spot too. So look, people are screaming at their monitors and screaming at their phones. Cam, they want to know.
That's a normal thing for our episodes, though, isn't it?
Correct. They want to know, how do I shoot an aurora? We get asked. I get asked this a lot. Like, how do I do this? I've got a good camera, but and it's not easy. It's not something that you can practice a lot either, because of the scarcity of aurora, unless you are really into your astrophotography and shooting, things like the celestial core and all that sort of stuff. Is that what it's called? The celestial core? What do they call that? The galactic core.
The galactic core. This is the thing. And I was just saying off air to you, I just had a customer ring me about doing an Aurora workshop down in Tassie. And it's just firstly, it's really hard to sort of set up a workshop like that because they are so sporadic. But how do you shoot them would be the probably next common question that you get. So to shoot an Aurora, I actually find them a little bit easier to do than maybe what people think. Unlike shooting sunsets or sunrises where you've got lots of highlights and shadows to work with, the Aurora is really just shooting the sky. And if you're happy to silhouette your foregrounds out, it's a fairly easy process. So the first thing you need, without a doubt, is a tripod. So if you don't have a tripod already for your landscape photography, then you need a tripod to do Aurora shots, because most of these exposure times are going to be anywhere from 5, 10, 15, up to 30 seconds long. So you're going to have a long exposure time where you need that camera to be super duper still. You need to shoot in manual mode. So, if you shoot normally in aperture priority, or if you shoot in shutter priority or, program mode, you need to switch your camera into manual mode in the M. And what you need to do is manually dial in the shutter speed, the aperture, and your ISO. And then the other one, which is probably the trickiest part of shooting auroras, is focusing. So in the dark, it's really hard to focus on things. It's really hard to focus on stars. Your camera autofocus won't pick up a tiny little dot in the sky to focus on. So most cases, you need to go into your manual focus mode as well and set your lens to infinity, which is what we spoke about last episode, about how do you find infinity on your camera. Well, that was last episode, wasn't it? Yeah.
Last one or the one before, yeah.
One of them.
I sort of lose track.
Yeah. So one of the recent episodes, we spoke about that. So the easiest way I find, I almost have like a base setting that I work on. So regardless of where I am, I'm like, let's chuck this base setting in, let's do a test shot. And then from there, it's real easy just to see where you want to go. So for everyone listening who wants to take notes, my base settings for auroras or astro, they're fairly similar. I start at ISO 1600. So I dial my ISO into 1600. I use a fast lens, which is generally what they would call an aperture that goes wide open. So something like 2.8. So I open my aperture up to its widest hole. The wider, the better. So 2.8. And then I set on 15 seconds. So ISO 1600, f2.8, 15 seconds. And then I manual focus to infinity. And then I use my self timer in the camera to press the button. I let it count down for 10 seconds, and then it takes a shot for 15 seconds. I then get a shot on the back of my camera where I can easily just look at it and go, well, that's way too dark or it's way too bright. Now, there's a couple of tricks in regards to shooting stars and auroras as to if it is too dark or too bright, which part of that exposure triangle do you adjust? So normally you won't touch the aperture because the aperture needs to be wide open. So you can cancel that bit of the triangle out. And then you've either got the ISO or your shutter time to play with. So one thing that people sometimes make a mistake with, if it's too dark, they go, well, I need to make it longer to get more light in the lens. And they do like 30 seconds or a minute. But that's when you start getting star trails, which if that's what you're trying to achieve, then fine. But for the actual aurora beams and things like that, it doesn't really matter what the time is, but the stars will start to trail. So I generally play around with my ISO. So I leave it about 15 seconds and I might double my ISO to 3200 or 6400, depending. But generally I don't go any higher than 3200 and maybe 20 seconds. So that's in a nutshell how I generally set up for all my astro and all my aurora shots, is that base setting, point it in the sky, get a reading, and then adjust from there.
So which, brings us always back around to the conversation of how good is digital, because you can see immediately, you get feedback immediately on the changes that you make. And that first test shot is always so important. So that gives you your baseline, and then it's like, okay, am I exposed enough? Am I not exposed enough? I can tell you now, folks, this is from personal experience from 18 months ago when I shot my first Aurora.
You got excited.
There really is nothing quite like when that image appears on your screen and you can see the color, and you can see you can see what Cam's got over his shoulders there. And they're not all like that, folks. So that was an absolute blinder. But there is really something about being able to uncover all that and what's the word I'm looking for, to produce all that color, for it to reveal that color in the sky. And now, a lot of people will, and particularly non-photographers, will ask, well, is that what I can see? Well, no, it's not. Okay. And this is where sometimes photographers get sort of, oh, you're cheating. Oh, I couldn't, the Aurora didn't look like that. Well, it is there. It's just that you're using longer exposure times to reveal that light that is actually there. If there's no, this is photography, painting with light is exactly what it is. Writing with light, if you want to be precise about it. But at the end of the day, if that color's not there, your sensor's not going to pick it up no matter what you do. It has to be there for you to be able to see it. So although some auroras are, like you mentioned, the one the other night was bright enough to see with the naked eye, not all of them are like that. In fact, the first one I shot definitely wasn't. I was tipped off that there was one there, but it took forever for my eyes to adjust to even just see it a little bit. And they did. I did see it ever so faintly in the sky. But then when I did a 25-second exposure of that area of the sky, well, that's where all that came through, and you can see that phenomenon for real. And that's one of the things that I think some people get their nose out of joint a bit with the whole color question. That's not what you see with the camera, and that's you're making it up, or that's fake. But what people need to realize is that the camera sensor at nighttime, especially, like during the day, our eyes see 1,000 more colors than the camera sensor will ever see, and light and shade. But at nighttime, that's where the sensors really take over, sort of outdoing what our eyes can do. So even though you don't necessarily see the color, you certainly see the light. So you can certainly see that shard over here and all the beams over here. You can certainly see that it's a dull color. It's like almost an unsaturated color. But what the camera does, it picks it up and sees the color and the light a little bit better than what we do. So when we edit these, honestly, they're out of camera. The only thing you need to change is really a bit of contrast. And the other thing people change a bit is color temperature of the file, to either make your sky a bit like deep blue space or more orangey space. So people have a preference to that, but it's definitely there when you see it. And when you're there long enough, like the other night, I was out for 4 hours in the dark, and no light pollution whatsoever. And by the time I was packing it ready to go, it was green. Like it was as green as this over here. And you could see it as clear as day that it was there. So I think a lot of people go, oh, but you're not seeing it. You don't really see it in real life. They might be taking a 5-minute glimpse of something where there's light pollution around, and it's not really seeing what people think they're going to see. But it's definitely there. And as your eyes adjust, it gets better and better and better. To the point, like I said, this video that we'll hopefully show here later, you can see it pulsing on the screen. It's green and it's pulsing. It's like it's moving. It's a whole dance that's going on. So, which is pretty amazing.
It's amazing, and I think that's why people go and see it, because we're all so intrigued by space and what's out there, and are we alone, and all that kind of stuff. And this kind of phenomenon that happens, it's really quite cool to see. So, and it's really funny. Like you'll be out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Tassie at godforsaken hours, and there'd be traffic everywhere. People are out driving around looking for it and stuff like that. So it is really cool. But but it is great to see, and for the next couple of years, I think it's going to ramp up. So those base settings that I had, even if you don't have an Aurora, go and try those base settings out to do stars or the Milky Way. So the Milky Way, the core, the galactic core is going to rise back up, and that has a season as well where it works. So once we start getting that galactic core up, you can go out and do Milky Way shots. Try to do it on a night that doesn't have any moon. The less moon, the better. Although the other night here we had half a moon here, and it was still, well overpowering the moon. So
yeah, I was going to actually ask that question, whether the moon phases make a difference to your Aurora shots.
Yeah, totally. And what actually helped the other night, like I was out with my friend and we both said, oh, the moon's up, and it was setting, like it was on its way down. But it was actually just giving a really beautiful soft light on all the foreground that we were shooting, which the camera was picking up. So on some of the shots I got of these mountains, I've got actually fairly clear light on the forests in the foreground, and it actually makes it look pretty cool. So, but yeah, go out and try it. Like I said, you need a tripod. Try those base settings, and I'm telling you now, most people will get hooked. The hardest thing is the focusing. So what I would suggest people do is really get used to their camera in the daylight and how to make those settings change, and then how to find the infinity focus. Even if you mark it with a bit of tape on your lens, so you know that's where it's going to line up at nighttime. And if you do go out with other people, don't get your torch out and shine it around everyone else when they're there, because it doesn't worry me, because you're there for hours. But some people get their knickers in a knot if people are trying to figure out their camera with a light on, and they're ruining your shots or flaring into your shots. But
you're creating light pollution.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful thing to watch. And the other night was big. And I've suggested they're going to get more frequently. One of the questions people are going to ask is, how do I know when they're there, or how do I know when they're going to happen?
Yeah, that was my next point.
So there is a few apps you can look at. So there's like the Aurora alerts. The Bureau of Meteorology have an Aurora page as well. But there's a few things on there. So if you get online or on your app store and have a look at the Aurora alerts, there's a few there. And there's obviously a lot of science behind it, how it all works. There's different wind speeds, there's different directions that the flares off the sun hit the earth. There's all these different things that happen. So even though there might be a massive aurora going on, if the solar winds are going the wrong way, it'll be over the bottom of South America and not over the bottom of Tasmania. So it all depends. Everything's got to line up a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big topic, but I would encourage people to get on to the Aurora Australis Tasmania Facebook page. There's about 170,000 members there, so don't worry, you won't be alone. And they've got a lot of pinned posts or featured posts that have a lot of information about how to see it, when to see it, and stuff like that.
I think I mentioned this last time we talked Auroras, which is a good 60 episodes ago. Do we get a bit of a heads up from our good friends in New Zealand?
New Zealand, we do. So yes, what I did, as I said earlier, I used to go out all times of night and be up all stupid hours and go to work the next day with my eyes hanging out. What I learned to do was sit on the couch and then watch the Aurora pages in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because they're 2 hours behind or 2 hours ahead of us. And if it started going off in New Zealand and people were putting shots from the back of their camera on that group, I'd pack my bags and go out. If it wasn't happening, I'd stay home. And that tessellated paper one I've got, which is quite a popular photo these days down here, that was purely me sitting on the couch at about 10 o'clock at night. And Lisa actually said, oh, look, the Aurora pages are showing a lot of shots from New Zealand. And I went, giddy up, I'm out of here. I'm going to go down and do this. I'm doing this. And I went out. So yeah, you can not cheat, but you can be a bit more pre-prepared. So yeah, and I think the other thing that's important with the Auroras is trying to, during the daylight, trying to actually find locations that might work. So don't go and try and scout locations at nighttime, because you can't see anything. But if you see a cool old gnarly tree or a dam or a really cool cliff face or a river or whatever it might be, a bridge or whatever, mark it on your little Google Maps and go, right, that could be a good Aurora. And of course, you need to be facing south. So don't be facing north, because you won't see the Aurora. You won't see anything. Yeah. So yeah, but it is cool.
Awesome. All very good tips. I think I might use a few of those tips myself. Good work.
Well, I'm hoping on our overland track trip, we get an Aurora.
Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be pretty cool. I actually had I did a trip once with a good friend of mine, Felicity, and we camped the first night, Waterfall Valley, and we were knackered, like just totally knackered. And I woke up in the morning to my little GPS thing with about 20 messages on it saying, "This is the biggest aurora we've had in years. Get out if you're on the track, get out." And we had probably the best vantage point of the whole trip at that camp. And
you slept right through it.
Yep. So when I got off the track, everyone's like, "Oh, you must show us these aurora shots you got." I'm like,
I reckon we could do a whole episode on the greatest shot I've never taken.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I've got quite a few stories that fit that bill for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's Aurora chat, folks. If you've got any questions, shoot them to us below, or you could hit us up on our brand new website, Cameron.
What? Have we got a website?
What now? This is news, isn't it? We've
get out of town.
When I say he built it, but we sort of knew that we wanted to do it for quite some time.
What input did you have into this?
I said we needed one.
Yeah, that's true. You started the ball rolling.
Basically, folks, what it is, it's sort of like a landing page for everything Down South Photo Show. So instead of having to leave a comment below or try and find a workshop somewhere, it's all there. So you can head over to dsps.com.au. Did I get that right, Cam?
You did. Down South Photo Show, dsps.com.au.
dsps.com.au.
Yeah, it's got everything. Workshops, it's got all the episodes. If you want to buy some merchandise that we're going to put up there as well. But yeah, you're right. It's just a landing page and you can send us questions. You can contact us through the page. It's sort of got to a point where we think this is going to be beneficial for people, and this website, like this show, will hopefully expand as well, and we'll add some things in there, and we might share our latest shots. So instead of us saying, "Hey, have a look at our background here," we can put it on the website on the front page there, and you can have a look at each week. And
not a silly idea. And also,
this is the most important part, isn't it? I think.
What's that?
You're going to say? I think.
No, I was off track. But
damn it!
What I was going to say was that last year, avid listeners may remember that we ran a couple of competitions.
We did.
So they will be featured on the website as well when we run another one, which could happen at the drop of a hat, knowing us.
Yes. The one thing I was going to put on there is a really very, very, very important section of this website.
Oh, yes, there is. And I know what you're going to say.
Yes, it's probably more important than the episodes, more important than the workshops, more important than contacting us. But there is a section that says buy us a beer. So, there is some people would like to support people, and we put this show on free of charge every week, and we put a fair bit of effort into it. We love doing it. But if you would like to support us and show your support, there is a little section on there that says that you can buy us a beer. And all it is a small donation via PayPal. And literally, it's going to buy us beer. So, and if you do buy us a beer, we'll give you a great shout out on the show. Absolutely. So it's a bit of fun, but we'll see. But the thing that could happen though is we could get absolutely shit-faced every week because people
it's buy us a beer, not feed us a beer. Like we don't have to, And what I'll do is I'll have a little scrolling list of anyone who's bought us a beer will appear on the show.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Can you do that as well?
Well, I'm going to steal that idea directly off Camping with Steve. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Camping with Steve is brilliant.
How did you get so technically minded?
I know. It's all thanks to the podcast. I can do stuff. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, it is amazing.
It's incredible what you can do on the computers now.
On the computers and the YouTubes. Yeah, but go check it out. We're pretty excited to have a website. It's good.
Absolutely. We are. We also wanted to talk a little bit tonight about where we take photos and locations of where we take photos. It's an interesting topic insofar as, do we want to tell people where we take these photos? And should people be looking for their own locations? It's a bit of I don't know. It's interesting for me. I mean, most of the locations where I shoot, well, particularly 85% of my stuff shot here on the Bellarine Peninsula. There ain't no secrets here, folks. Everyone knows all the spots where you go here. But when you get out to maybe more remote locations or more sort of lesser heralded locations, should we be telling people exactly where to go? And
I'd like to.
Definitely should be. That's right. The exact time of day that we shot it, and or is that just encouraging this whole philosophy of cookie cutter, like seen one, seen them all, Instagram mentality? It's an interesting topic, and you were telling me that friend of the show and definitely avid listener, Nick Page, he's been a listener to this thing. He put a was it a Twitter post today about it? Or
he put up a Facebook post that was shared. That was actually shared to me today with someone asking me, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And pretty much in a nutshell, his post was, you know what, I'm not your GPS map. I'm not going to tell you everywhere I go and take photos, because so I think there's like a bit of a double edge to it. So one, you know, people find these amazing locations for photographs around their local area where they might be, and as soon as you put it online somewhere, people are like, where's that? I want to go there. Where's that? Where's this? So, you know, there's a hell of a lot of effort in scouting, and, you know, that's part of the game, scouting and going into all these amazing spots. And on the flip side of that, and I know this is quite prominent down in Tassie as well, is that as soon as you tell someone where this really nice spot is, it just gets trampled. Like it just gets smashed with people. And, you know, there's a lot of very, very, very sensitive vegetation down here and habitats. And if you go, hey, I got this amazing shot at the back of Cradle Mountain, and it's up this path, and you got to go, you know, walk through this button grass plain and climb up this and, you know, jump over this wombat hole and all this kind of stuff, you know, people are going to get in there and it's going to ruin things. So I think it's a really important discussion to have. And I don't know, like, I think you're right with what you're saying as well. Like, you know, there's some places, you know, people just know where it is.
Yeah.
You know, there's, you know where, you know, Point Lonsdale Lighthouse is, or, you know, where, you know, Cradle Mountain is down here. But I think if people have put a lot of effort into finding some really unique locations and spots, they should probably think a bit differently about maybe letting that out to the world, that, hey, this is this really cool spot I went.
It's funny, isn't it? Why can't people, particularly photographers, why can't they just go, that's a great photo, I don't have to go and shoot it now? For me, it just seems a bit weird that, although, yes, you can use a photo of inspiration, I would much rather ask someone like Nick Page what settings they used rather than where it was taken, so that when I'm at a location similar or faced with a similar shot, you know, I'll have a little heads up on how to shoot. I mean, I'd like to think I wouldn't have to ask how to shoot it, but for the the amateurs out there, you know, I love it when guys like Photo Tripper, for example, when they're showing their YouTube channel, they'll always have the settings that they shot the image on, probably because that's what they get asked all the time.
Well, it's interesting. I think this goes back to the thing that we've discussed quite a lot on this show is, you know, that endorphin hit, people getting a buzz out of getting that attention for putting that photo up. And again, everyone knows my standing and your standing on this and how it works, and how we'd rather, you know, it shouldn't be about getting a 5-second buzz. It should be about the whole process and enjoying photography as we do. But I think there's a little bit of that involved as well, that people go, geez, that's a great shot that Nick Page took. If I go there and take the same shot and get a really nice shot, people are going to tick me off and think I'm special. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I think it's probably one of the things I love most about landscape photography is actually the thrill of the scout. So, you know,
that's exactly right. The thrill of the chase. There's nothing beats it.
Because I'm confident to say that I can take a photo and know the settings and how to do it all. But especially down here in Tassie, because there's so many people come down here for photos, just having that ability to see things a bit differently, or scout a different location, or see things. So there's a couple of guys that shoot down here who, to their credit, have created a little bit of a different look on some of the famous spots by shooting through foliage with wide open apertures. So it sort of frames things up with foliage and mountains and stuff like that. So that's a bit different. So I'm always looking for trying to be a bit different. But if you just go to where everyone else is going and copy the same spot and the same shot, I think that gets pretty boring pretty quick.
And for the amateurs that might be listening, if you've tuned in, thanks for joining us. There is nothing quite like being able to, once you learn photography and learn the basic settings to capture pretty much any given scene, particularly landscape, there's something really cool about, you might be on a hike, for example, and it might be the middle of the day. There's something really cool about walking through an area, seeing a composition, and just this little light bulb goes off in your head. I know how to shoot that, and I know exactly when I need to be back here to shoot it to get it how I want it to look. And it's almost like, without saying too wanky, it's almost like entering another dimension where you're looking from purely a photographic standpoint. So I'll give you a really good example. So when I used to do the Yamundi markets up in southeast Queensland on the Sunshine Coast, I had loads of photos of the Noosa Heads National Park. And I'd have the photos up there, and people would say, "Oh, where's that?" And I say, "Well, that's Noosa Heads National Park." And the amount of times people would say, "Well, I was there yesterday, I didn't see that."
Yeah.
It's like, well, did you look?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
were you looking like a photographer? You know, were you looking to, you know, I mean, I see things framed up. I see things within the frame of my viewfinder all the time. I'm sure you're the same, Cam, where you'll be walking through a rainforest or something, and you'll see a log and a branch, and you go, that's a cool composition.
Yeah, you're right. And I think I actually think that, as well as understanding your photography and how to shoot, it's equally important how to look for photos as well.
Yeah.
And again, to anyone that's sort of starting off, this is not a deterrent to say, hey, don't go to Cradle Mountain and take the same shot I want. By all means, knock yourself out and go do those shots. Get the postcard shots, because that's great for practicing, and it's great to understand how another photographer might have framed up something and stuff like that. But when you start getting better at it, that's when you should start looking to branch away from those real common shots and try and find your own, little locations. But yeah, it goes back to, they say imitation's the best form of flattery, which is great. But really, like, after a period of time, you really should be looking to stand on your own 2 feet and try and take those photos. But it all comes back to that, that little bit of a stroke of an ego that, oh, that's such and such got a great shot there, I'm going to get the shot and do the same thing. And I don't think that's productive for a photographer if you want to learn. I think it's great to understand how they took the photos, and by all means, go and take that shot. But if you're taking that shot purely to get a bit of a kick online with likes and stuff like that, then I think you're going to go backwards in your photography, because you'll get stuck in this box of where you just go and do the shots that everyone else does.
Well, to that end as well, if you're lucky enough to be out there traveling this awesome country, and or anywhere in the world for that matter, and you're taking photos, start looking for the different spots. Start looking off the beaten path, not only for your photography, but for yourself to explore. As humans, that's what we love to do, is explore what's over there. I love leading with that line when I run a workshop. Or what's over there? Like, just, people get so hung up on what's right in front of their camera. Well, hang on a minute. Literally just 30 meters away, there's a little ridgeline, or there's a bush, and let's go and have a look at that. And that's where, to me, I think the thrill of the chase, as I was saying, comes back into it. Where you find yourself, you've uncovered a new composition of even if it is a hotspot like the 12 Apostles or something like that. I actually pride myself on a couple of photos I've done of the 12 Apostles that were different than people, and the comments I got were, "I've never seen that angle before." That's what I want,
And I think that's, like, if I could accredit any success I've had in regards to my photos of Tassie, I think it's been due to that, is that people have gone, "Oh wow, I've never seen a shot of that before like that," or "I've never seen it in that condition," or so how did you get that? How did you get to that spot? Or so I think, if you're maybe past entry level, when you're sort of really kicking along, enjoying your photography, the next thing you really should be focusing on is how to see photos that are a bit different, and how to get a different composition, whether or not it's get down lower, get up higher, shoot through foliage, or use a longer lens, or whatever it might be. Try and be a little bit different. So
absolutely,
less about copying and more about learning, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. That's a really cool topic. If the eagle-eared listeners may hear some rumbling in the background over my audio, we have the Avalon Air Show on this weekend, and they are, as we speak, they are doing training runs straight over the top of my house.
I love that. That's something I love going to. When's that on this weekend?
This weekend. So it starts to as we record. Well, as this goes to air, it kicks off on Friday night. So that's all happening this weekend.
So you're not
should
under
we
attack.
do? Sorry,
you're not under attack.
No, it's just just an air show, folks. We had the roulette. The roulettes went straight down the coast the other day and doing their training, and
Jealous.
Tip of the week.
Oh, you know how to do the jingo. That's good.
Really quick.
Yes.
Don't stack your filters, folks.
No.
Just don't
do it.
Right. Moving on.
Yeah, people go, what the hell did I mean stacking filters? So don't screw your filters on front of others' filters. So you got a filter like this one. Don't attach it to another one.
You've got props. You've actually. How organised are you tonight?
You
This
know,
is
I
so
got this.
impressive.
You know, I got this prop because I found it in my car today when I gave it a clean. I'm like, oh, that's where that filter went. So don't stack them together. And the really quick reason to do that is there's a couple of quick reasons. One, it introduces more diffraction of light passing through more elements of glass, so you get all weird artifacts coming through. If they're dirty, that makes it even worse. If you've got two bits of dirty glass next to each other, that's just a no-no. And the other one, which is quite prominent for coming up in the next few months with winter, is that sometimes you can get air or condensation between two filters, and then you'll get all these foggy lens shots and all that kind of stuff. So if you're going to use a circular polarizer, take the UV off, put the circular on, don't stack them together. That's the tip. Don't do it.
I like it. That's good. It's a good tip of the week.
Quick one.
Real quick, we're very conscious of not making this a artist formerly known as Olympus show, but Cam and I both were made aware this week of a ridiculous deal that we just could not say no to, and that was our good friends over at Olympus OM System were selling the EM1X, which is a fine I don't
have a prop. Sorry.
No, mine's at the shop. A fine camera. If you are wanting something to shoot, particularly sports and wildlife. Anyway, you could buy the EM1X for $2,800, but they would give you a 100 to 400 lens as a bonus. Now that is a $2,300-$2,400 lens that they were basically giving you for nothing. So Cam got, I think Cam got the 11th last kit in Australia, and I got the 10th last kit in Australia.
Yes.
So,
yes. So yeah, it was a pretty good deal, and for those who might think, well, that's not fair. How come I didn't get told? Well, we didn't have any inside information with this.
No, not at all.
This was sent out on OM Systems mail list, like everyone should be, or if you whichever camera brand you should be on.
Yep.
So yeah, they did a deal where you could get this EM1X. 2,700 ish.
Yeah.
And they would then give
with free express delivery.
Yeah. And then they'll give you that free, the 100 to 400 lens. So
yeah.
The question is now, if anyone wants a cheap EM1X, check online because they're coming.
That's right. Well, the thing for me was I never really rated that camera very highly. It kind of defeated a lot of the purposes that you would buy an Olympus for. It's huge. It's a massive camera. However, I got my hands on it today. I got mine in the post today, and I put the 100 to 400 on it, and I got a wee bit excited. It actually, I've got stupid big man hands, so it fits really well. It feels like the old Canon, the Nikon D5. D5. Well, it used to be an F5, and then it became It's got that beautiful big battery grip on the bottom that's permanent. Runs to blah blah. Anyway, as I say, we're not. It just so happens that that's what we got. And I got really excited by because effectively it's an 800mm f5 lens or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a 200 to 800mm. 4.3 to 4.5 to 6.3 or something like that. So
very, very cool setup.
Yeah, very cool deal. There's probably still some left. I don't know if they're sold out, or actually no, it's finished on the 28th. It did.
Yep, sorry, bad luck. You all missed out. But anyway, we just thought we'd throw that in because it was quite interesting to see a company giving away a $2,500 lens.
Well, it also says that EM1X is going to be discontinued very soon.
Yeah,
but it is a great camera. I've used it as a second shoot for weddings, and I've taken it out to do all the landscape stuff. So yeah, it is pretty good. It's all built like a tank.
It's a little bit on the sluggish side. I mean, it'll only shoot 60 frames per second.
Yeah, no, it's pretty what
boring. What the hell?
But this is not an OM show. We certainly don't want to promote anything else. So
no, that's right. We just so happens to be that's what we did this week. Dear Cam.
Well,
we got to the Dear Cam.
Yeah, we did.
Dear Cam.
Hey, before you go, did you know that if you wanted to ask a Dear Cam question, you can go to www.dsps.com.au and lodge your question in there?
Absolutely fabulous. dsps.com.au.
We are the worst people. We should just give up marketing altogether. Like, I feel like such a dick when we do marketing.
Why?
That's what we're here for. Can we get like Sally or Lisa to do some we need a nice lady voice over the top of us?
Hey, I can put my radio voice on.
Yeah, it's still not pretty.
No, okay, that's fine. Dear Cam, which Cam has put in brackets Dear Friends, which is me. This is from number one ticket holder Mel.
Yes,
Mel,
Mel.
you got a question on Dear Cam.
Yep.
Can you please explain Pancake lenses? This is the shortest Dear Cam question of all time.
Well, he's a man of many little words.
Few words.
Few words, and he doesn't like taking our
Unlike
time
us.
too much, unlike us. So
Yep.
my understanding of a pancake lens is that it's just a small fixed focal length lens that's just not big. That's
Yeah, so it's a lens that's not fat. It's
right.
it's a very thin lens, and the term pancake, obviously, it's not an official camera term or anything like it. It just looks like a pancake because it's
Yep.
flat. It's a
Yep.
flat lens that has very few elements inside it, and it's generally speaking a relatively faster aperture lens because it's got few elements, and generally it's not the widest lens you'll ever find. It's going to be around anywhere from say 25 mil to 50 mil. That's pretty much sums up what a pancake lens is. It's not as I say, Mel, it's not an official, like people don't go looking for a pancake lens for any particular reason other than it's good for street shooting because it's low apertured, it's thin, it's stealthy, it's unobtrusive. You can almost on some compact cameras you can almost put in your pocket with a pancake lens on, even some compact sort of SLR style cameras. So that's what a pancake lens is, and you also use them for taking photos of breakfast.
That's terrible.
Best I could do.
I apologize, everyone, if that's a terrible joke. What's the benefit of them? Like just that they're small?
Yeah,
that's
size, absolutely.
Right. So they don't play any specific purpose on like taking photos or the lens, how the elements of how it's all made up. Don't.
No,
they just decided, hey, let's make this super small.
Correct.
Lens.
It's a design thing. It's a design feature, being a small lens. It's easy to carry around, relatively lightweight, and as I say, unobtrusive. So it can be really good street shooter, particularly if you're traveling OS and you want to get shots of people in the street and stuff like that. It doesn't have the big look of a pro setup.
Right.
It's a classic little point and shoot, like a shooting from the hip kind of setup. So
okay. All right.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that should satisfy Mel.
We'll see. We'll get feedback. We will. He comments on every single video, and more power to him.
And now we've got a website where he can buy us a beer. Look out.
That's right. Yeah, I like the buy us a beer feature. It's going to be very interesting to see.
You know what? I spent more time on that section of the website. I did the whole lot of it. It's like I've got to nail this bit and just make sure it's right. So,
and rightly so. Background. We've talked about cams. We're just going to briefly talk about mine. Hang on. Let me make me bigger on the screen. Cam, you don't see when I'm bigger on the screen, but I'm now bigger on the screen. This is Lake Touchywop, folks. So Lake Touchywop is on the edge of the Mallee. It is just near Swan Hill in north-western Victoria. Touchywop is, I probably shouldn't be saying it too often, and it's going to counteract exactly what we were talking about before in the episode. I don't want many people to go there. It's one of those places that every time I've been there, it's a lay down misère for an awesome sunset. So I highly recommend you don't go there. Go to Lake Touchywop.
Stay away.
Yeah, it's a great spot. It's right on the edge of the Mallee, which is a great segue into talking about our Mallee Murray workshop that we've got coming up in October, Cameron.
Why don't we plug the ones in June? Oh, that's right. They're sold out. What a shame.
Nice. Yeah. Well, our two Bellarine Peninsula ones have now sold out. The June King's birthday long weekend.
Yeah, that's
Saturday and Sunday are now sold out. Do we have a waiting list, Cam? Can people get on a waiting list for those, or
don't put that out there?
That sounds like more work.
It does sound like more work. No, we don't have a waiting list, and mainly because everyone at books comes along.
True.
So that's why it's super important to subscribe to the YouTubes and every other social media thing we've got. So you do find out when things are happening straight away. So but we do have the Murray Mallee workshop, which still has a few places left. So that's 4 days, 3 nights starting in Swan Hill and doing some loops around and heading out every day and shooting some amazing spots. That's a fully inclusive one as well. So you get all your food, all your hotel. We'll even drive you around. We're not buying you grog. You still got to buy us a beer. That's non-negotiable. But it's fully inclusive. Brendan and I teach you absolutely everything we can, and that starts on the 12th of October. So if you jump on the website, you can have a look at that, and it's got the full details on. But I'd love to see people.
DSPS.com.au.
I'd love to see that. Love to see that sell out. That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Not least of all because it's my old stomping ground and I know the area very, very well. So you'll get a lot of very cool locations up there. You'll also get some very, very solid tuition over 4 days. So
yeah, good stuff.
Jump on, check that one
good.
out.
Awesome.
Cam, what do you got coming up this week?
I was meant to be going to the southwest for another 3-day camp. But this is getting cut a bit short. So we've got some weather coming in. So on Sunday, I was meant to be flying out for 3 days, but it looks like we're going to do an overnight camp down there. And I spoke to my beautiful customers today. They're all understanding that they understood that if we fly down, we may not fly out for another week. Funnily enough, none of them had a problem with that. Everyone was happy to be. Everyone was happy, yeah, everyone was happy to be stuck there. So that's going on, and then a little bit of a break, and then I've got another trip starting up about a week and a half after that. So, yeah. How about you? You're busy.
Yeah, so I had intended to actually be at Lake Tyrrell tomorrow night, but that's not going to happen now. I've got too much going on with camera and photo, which is fine. That's all right. We can reschedule that for another. I'll probably just be another couple of weeks, and I'll be up there. But I am on Saturday night doing a hike out of Cape Otway. In preparation for the overland track.
Yes.
Me and friend Jack are going to get to Cape Otway Lighthouse. We're going to hike up to Air River, camp at Air River, and then hike our way back. So nice. about 20k round trip. So it shouldn't be overly strenuous. Only one night, so we don't have to carry a heap of gear. But quite looking forward to it. We'll take the cameras. Lots of wildlife at Cape Otway. We've got koalas. We've got wedge-tailed eagles. We've got there's some penguins down there. We've got the possums. We've got all, kangaroos, wallabies, everything down there. So emus even live down there. So
what are they?
Emus.
So yeah,
great to say.
Just going back to our Melly Murray workshop, that's what you're going to get. Emus.
Yeah, we'll try and find your emus.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds like it should be nice
forward to it. Should be good. Should be able to, well, first of all, start getting a bit more fitness in these legs of mine, but also get the camera out again. And can't wait to do that and take a few shots. And also acquaint myself with my traveling buddy who I haven't been on a hike with him before. So let's see what happens from here, shall we?
That's one thing I like talking about the overland track. Yeah, the hundreds of people I've met as I go along that track, and everyone rocks up on the first day and they're all bright, fresh, happy. Everyone's getting on, everyone's so happy. Nothing could ever upset anyone. And you get to about day 3 and someone at camp just doesn't clean up, or someone they go get their water, they go fill their water bottle up and forget to fill it, don't offer to do anything. Like these little tiny things that just build like a little seed, and then by the end of it it's a giant hue and pine, and and people are ready to slice someone up and leave them out there. But look, I'm sure you and Jack will get on fine.
Well, hopefully.
Well, you're not sharing a tent, though, are you? No.
I would never do such a thing to anyone else. I mean, just no. No one would want to share a tent with me.
Yeah, fair enough.
This has been episode 71 of the Down South Photo Show. I hope you've enjoyed it. That's the podcast. Cam, anything else to add?
I've enjoyed it. That's been good.
That's the way. We'll see you for episode 72 next week, possibly. I don't know. We'll find out. You'll find out as well.
You better stay tuned.
See you guys.
Ciao.